Okay, so for what feels like forever, about 18 months, we've been hearing this nonstop. AI is going to change everything. But what if that initial gold rush, that whole frenzy is, well, over? That's what we're digging into. We're going to cut through the noise and figure out what's really going on. And more importantly, who's actually winning.
And let's just start right here, because I'm pretty sure everyone listening gets this. I mean, you're tired of the hype. I'm tired of the hype. It feels like every single day there's another game-changing AI tool, another so-called guru on social media who's going to make you a millionaire with just a few prompts. You know what? It's exhausting. And honestly, most of it is just pure noise.
So here's the big idea, the main point we're going to unpack. That first kind of wild, chaotic gold rush phase, it's wrapping up. But, and this is super important, this is not the end of AI. Not even close. It's actually the start of something way bigger, something quieter, but much, much more important. A real shift in how we actually work. Okay, first things first. We have to talk about this AI bubble and the fact that it's bursting. You've probably seen it. The internet is just drowning in what people in the industry are calling slop. Basically, a tsunami of cheap, low-quality, AI-generated junk. And, it's so easy to look at all this slop and just think, well, that was a bust. The whole AI thing was a failed experiment. But that is absolutely the wrong way to look at it. This isn't the end of the story. Think of it more like an intermission. Yeah, a necessary pause before the real show actually starts. So the big question is, why? Why is this bubble bursting? Well, it really boils down to two huge problems. First, the economics are just broken. And second, this slop problem we just mentioned. Together, they're making the whole current approach completely unsustainable. Let's talk about the money first, because the numbers are just mind-blowing. We're talking $100 to $200 million just to train a single big model like GPT-4. And here's the kicker. The next version costs way, way more, but the improvements you get are smaller and smaller. I mean, that is a literal definition of diminishing return. Hey, and don't just take my word for it. Listen to the guy at the top. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, has basically come out and said it. This model, this idea of just burning through billions for tiny little improvements, it's not a viable path. When the CEO himself tells you the plan isn't going to work long term, you should probably believe him. Okay, so that's the money problem. Now for the second issue, the slop, which weirdly enough is creating this really interesting twist. It's something called the slop paradox. The idea is simple. The more the internet gets flooded with generic, bland, AI-generated stuff, the more valuable, real, authentic, human-created work becomes. It's suddenly rare. It stands out. And we are talking about a massive scale here. Some estimates are putting it at around 40%. 40% of the internet might already be this kind of AI slop. So in a world like that, being authentic, having a real human voice, that's not just a nice little bonus anymore. It's become the single scarcest and maybe the most valuable resource online. Okay, so let's recap. The economics are broken, and the internet is filling up with slop. So, where does that leave us, the humans? Well, this brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole conversation, focusing on what AI fundamentally, structurally cannot do. This is what we're going to call the human moat. And this moat, this protective barrier, is really built on four key things. First, there's context collapse. AI just doesn't get what really matters in a situation. Second, physical intuition. It's never actually touched or felt anything in the real world. Third, true novelty. It's amazing at remixing what already exists, but it can't come up with something genuinely new out of thin air. And finally, number four, stakes and judgment. AI has no skin in the game. It can't make a real judgment call because nothing's at stake for it. Now, I want to be absolutely crystal clear on this. These aren't just little bugs that are going to get fixed in GPT-5 or some future model. No way. These are baked into the very nature of the technology. They are features, not bugs. At its core, an AI is a super powerful pattern matching machine. It is not and never has been a thinking machine. All right, so if that's the landscape, who wins? Who actually thrives in this new world? Well, it's not going to be the hype artists. It's not going to be the prompt engineering gurus. The real winners, the people who are quietly getting stuff done and building the future, they fit a whole new profile. We're calling them the integrators. If you think about how technology gets adopted, we are right at the tail end of that initial hype phase. A big correction is coming in the next year or so. But what comes after that? That's the integration phase. And that's the good part. That's when the tech actually grows up, when real value gets created, and, you guessed it, when the integrators really shine. So what exactly is an integrator? It's actually pretty simple. An integrator isn't an AI rater or an AI consultant. They're just a writer, or a coder, or a strategist. They're a professional who uses AI as an invisible tool to make their existing skills even better. For them, AI isn't their whole identity. It's just a really, really good hammer. And you can see the difference so clearly when you put them side by side. The AI hypester, they're all about selling AI transformation, trying to replace actual thinking with a bunch of clever prompts. They focus on the tool. But the integrator, they use AI to speed up their research, to augment their own human judgment. They're focused on the outcome. One approach is shallow, the other is deep. It's that simple. This is the natural life cycle for any successful technology. Think about it. The best tools just disappear. They become invisible. Nobody goes around bragging that they're a Microsoft Excel expert or a Google Docs specialist, right? Of course not. They just use them. AI is heading down that exact same path. The end goal here is for AI to become so useful that it's actually kind of boring.
Okay, let's bring this all back to you. What does all of this actually mean for your job, for your career? Well, it means that right now, you're at a fork in the road. You have a really important choice to make about where you're going to focus your energy and skills.
So I want you to ask yourself a question and be really honest. Where do you stand? Right now, today, do you feel safer or less safe in your job than you did a year ago? Your gut answer to that question, it says a lot. It tells you whether your value comes from just repeating patterns or if it comes from that uniquely human stuff, like judgment. Because here's the reality. A huge gap is opening up. On one side, you have the formulaic work, the pattern matching, the stuff that produces generic content. That stuff is becoming a commodity. It's getting cheaper and less valuable by the day. But on the other side, you have work that demands real judgment, deep context, and human relationships. And that kind of work is becoming more valuable than ever, specifically because the world is full of all that other slop. And that really brings us to the final takeaway here. All this talk about humans versus AI, it was always the wrong conversation. It was never about us being replaced by machines. The real future, the real competition is this. It's humans who understand how to use AI versus humans who don't. The hype bubble is bursting, for sure. So the only real question left is, which side of that divide are you going to be on?